afternoon and welcome to Cooking with Grace. I'm your host, Dyann Duncan, and with me today is, as I like to call her, Miss Ruth, or as everyone else knows her, Ruth Costello. How are you today?
I am great, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, thanks for coming. I know this is a crazy time, but Cooking with Grace, I think, is always a fun time.
It is.
And I think you need to tell all of our viewers about your special apron.
My special apron was given to me by the Mag Kids, Stephen, Alexander, and Faith Elizabeth. And I'm wearing it today in their honor because I miss them terribly.
Good. We always wear aprons here at Cooking with Grace, so she brought her own, and that is a first for Cooking with Grace. So I'm glad you're here. What I wanted to cook today, which I just shared with Miss Ruth, this is a family favorite of mine. My husband absolutely refuses to eat it, so if you're going to go, oh, I totally understand. But it's chocolate gravy, and it's a very traditional Southern thing, and in my family, we would have it on Sunday nights. That was the only time we would have it because it is sugar and chocolate and milk, and yeah, it's not something you really want to send your kids to school on. But anyway, with COVID and everything, I'd probably give it to my kid. I don't care, as long as they eat it. So what we have, I'm going to be looking at my phone for my recipe because I can't remember this one. This one is more than just 3 ingredients, so I'm sorry, but it's still stuff you should have around your house. We use a cup of sugar, and Miss Ruth is going to be stirring to make sure we don't have any lumps. 3.5 tablespoons of cocoa powder, and then 3 tablespoons of flour. And I'll let her be mixing that. And then when there's no lumps, let me know, because then we will add our 1.5 cups of whole milk. And we're going to be using the stove today, which is kind of new. We haven't used the stove in Cooking with Grace. We've used electric griddle, we've used the oven several times, but this time we're going to be using the stovetop. So that was fun. I'm so glad we had help to turn it on today because I need to get more familiar with Grace's kitchen. So anyway, Miss Ruth has attended Grace for a while. She'll go in and start telling you this when the time comes. I'm going to call that good, And we're going to add our milk. And if you just want to go ahead and stir that in there. I bring all these ingredients for home, and that's why, our milk, whenever milk is required, is always in a to-go cup. Because I've got to keep it cool to get it here. And I usually keep it in an ice chest and everything, but I just want that insulated cup to make it to Grace. Okay. You also need a tablespoon of butter, which I'm going to melt in my saucepan here in a minute. And so once Miss Ruth has this all mixed together, I'll melt my butter, and then I will take this mixture and heat it up on the stove. I don't know what they say, but I usually do mine at medium heat. Yep, medium heat. And I will stir it continually until it thickens like gravy. So, and then that's really all it is, folks. So it's delicious. Oh, it's good. It is so good. I hope you like it. I always, whenever I love something that I cook, I always want everyone else to love it as much as I do. So, but if you don't, that's okay. I'll be all right.
Your husband.
Well, yeah, he always has a sandwich or something else, but the kids love it. So that makes me feel good.
That's all you need.
Well, while I go over here to start this on the stove, I would like for you to share with our viewers, how did you come to know Christ as your personal Savior?
Well, I was very, very young. I grew up in a Christian home. So my dad was a minister, and they did missionary work in Mexico and Brazil. And it was a wonderful life because I knew Jesus since I was a little girl. But I was at a Billy Graham crusade, and he talked about heaven. And he said how special heaven was. And I knew not for sure if I was ready for heaven. I was a little kid, and heaven wasn't as important as when you're 40 years old. But I felt that I needed to walk all the way down those stairs to the front and stand at that altar and basically give my whole self to God. And it shocked my parents because, I could have done it in church any Sunday. But I went down there, and my mom followed me down because I was fast, and she was like, whoa, there she goes. And I remember I was only as high as his stage.
Oh.
And he bent down and he touched my hand and he smiled until today. He is a very, very special person in my life. And that's why Franklin Graham's ministry means a lot to me today. And we accepted Jesus. They gave me a book. And I had already learned to read the Bible and memorize it because that was a big thing with my mother.
Sure.
But I realized that not only memorizing it, but understanding it. Like, all of a sudden I wanted to know really, why did he die?
Right.
Why would somebody give up their life for everybody? Bad people, good people, all people. And life went on, and we were in the mission field. Off and on I would go. The rest of the time I'd stay home and my dad and mom would go. And we were there, and I'll sort of tell this story. And we built the church, and my dad would preach in the one building, and my older sister and I would talk to the kids, sing, crafts, Bible story, flannel board. And one night it was really raining in Brazil, and when it rains in Brazil, it rains. And this little girl came in a little late, and she was soaking wet in a very pale yellow. I still can see the dress. It was almost beige. And she was soaking wet. And it had been a cold night, and I was wearing a red coat with a white hood that I had begged for months. And my mom had bought it for me at Bullock's in California.
It was a nice coat.
It was my dream coat.
Right.
And I was wearing it. She was shivering. I took it off and I let her wear it. And at the end of the whole evening, parents come to pick up their kids. Well, her and her brother didn't have parents that came. So they had come alone. She was barefoot. And I looked at her and I said, go ahead and keep the coat, because she wanted to give it back. And I said, oh my gosh, you can keep it. And she's like, no. And I said, yes, you can keep it. So she went on home with the coat, and we finished the evening. My mother basically told me, you're not going to get another one. There were other coats we could have given her, and I said, but I wanted to give her that one. Never got another red coat. I got other coats, but not the red one.
Right.
And life went on. 2 years later, my dad passed away. And when he passed away, it was like, you're supposed to be sick when you die. And he was never sick. And he had a massive coronary.
Oh, wow.
So it was just Mom and I, and we went to church, we read the Bible. I was a good girl, and I got married, had 3 beautiful children, and all of a sudden, my marriage is breaking up, and I'm the one walking away. So there's guilt, you're not supposed to get divorced, there's all sorts of stuff going on. And I remember I looked at my mom one day, the kids were at camp, I had just dropped them off at Angeles Crest, and she says, what is bothering you? I said, I'm mad because I don't think all the good stuff we do is got a reward. Because I've been good, I've done it right, and it's a mess. And she says, everything in our life God controls, He has plans for our life, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, but it hasn't worked out that way. And the church I was going to when I was married, I was in a young marrieds class, and they basically said, hey, you can't come to the class anymore because you're not married, and we don't want a single person in the class. So it was hard. They were very strict about Sunday school teachers not being divorced.
Yes.
So I had to leave that church that I loved and went to another church. But through it all, it was very, very emotional. So I told my mother, I said, I bet all those churches Dad built, they're not around. And she goes, well, you know the ones in Mexico are. And I said, yeah, but it's not the same. I said, we spent a lot of time and energy and everything. So I said, I think since the kids are at camp for 3 weeks, I'm going to go to South America
and see if I can find that church. And she looked at me and she says, do you feel you really need to do that? And I said, yes. I really want to know if whatever Dad did and died for was in vain. So I get there and I get a cab and I tell him where the village is, and the guy goes, oh yeah, I know that town, no problem. So it's about an hour to get there. And when I get there, I look, and now it has a real sign. We had left a wooden sign. It has a fountain, it has flowers, all this good stuff. And I'm like, oh, it looks so pretty. And he goes, yeah. He says, they do a lot in this town with this church. And I go, that's nice. So I still was negative, and I told him to wait, and I walked in, and the lobby was very narrow and long and full of pictures. And so I'm going through all these pictures, and there is the picture of the first congregation. And I look at the picture and I get all emotional about it. And a young man about my age comes up and he says, where are you from? You know, so I told him America. And he says, what brings you here? And I said, well, my dad built this church. He goes, oh my gosh, that's you. And of course I was sitting on the curb, not very ladylike. And he says, that's me. And I didn't recognize him from Adam. So I said, you know, I'm just here. I just wanted to see what has happened with what he started. And he says, we have volleyball, we have basketball court, we teach the kids, we have 2 youth nights. One is tomorrow. And he says, oh, for crying out loud, he goes, you've got to meet my family. And I'm like, okay. And he says, get the luggage out of the thing. If you decide you don't want to stay with us for the week, I'll take you back
For
to
the
the
week?
Well, I was there for a week.
Well, I know, but still, that's awfully brave.
Yeah,
You
because
didn't
they
know
didn't know me
and you
either.
didn't know them, yeah.
No, but I knew the food was good.
Oh, okay.
So we get there, and the kids are 3, just like mine, 2 boys and a girl, and that made me feel good. And she was very pretty and very graceful, and both of us went in the kitchen and we're chopping stuff up, and she's making this delicious lunch. And we're sitting at lunch, and I'm trying to speak Portuguese as best as I could remember it, and it isn't coming out totally right. And all of a sudden, when I was saying something, she got up and started bawling, and I said, oh my gosh, what did I say? And he says, it's okay, everything's okay. I go, no, it's not okay, she just read out of your bawling. He goes, it's okay. And I said, no, what did I say? He goes, don't worry. And I'm like, this is not going to work. I'm going to need a cab, and I'm going to need to leave. So here she comes, and she drags this old wooden trunk. It looked like a steamer trunk. And she opens it up, and I just fell apart because she pulls out a faded red coat that is now pink with a yellow hood. And I looked at it, and I said, no way. And she goes, it was me.
Oh my gosh.
So I sort of did my falling apart crazy, and we hugged and we cried. We sat on the floor and hugged the dumb coat. And she said, because of that coat, when she went home, her parents said, how could these people just give you a coat? And her father was an alcoholic, and he never wanted to go to church. Mom went once in a while. She says now her whole family was saved. She married a minister. Her life is completely different than it was. And she looked at me and she goes, it's because of your coat.
Wow.
And I said, oh my God, you know, I said, I guess what we do, that we don't see the reward sometimes.
That's right.
That he had to hit me in the head.
Right.
And had to make me cry and fall apart. And at that point I realized, hey, whatever you do in God's name, or
right.
when you give it to a stranger, you may never see that stranger again.
Right.
But God is working because of what you did.
Praise God for that red coat, for you being obedient, for her being at that place, for it being raining. I
Yes.
mean,
Everything
everything
went
came together. And who knew, like you said, that would change, yeah, not just her life, but her whole family's, and then that community, because she married the pastor. And
It was amazing. But you would have thought that I would have run right back to California and opened a Grace House, right?
I'm thinking no.
No.
Well, where we were living, we lived in Laguna Beach, you know, in that area, and there was not a need.
Right.
But we gave to missions in other countries. And I thought if I wrote a check, I was doing my part.
Right.
And all along, God was preparing me, because out of Laguna Beach, He brought me to St. Joe, Missouri. No beach.
Yeah. Just a little different.
Just a little different. And He, I don't know how to say it, He melted and molded me down to where having a new outfit and new shoes all the time was so important. Going on a wild, crazy vacation somewhere was important. The best house, new, built in, totally, was important. And by bringing me here, we bought like an 80-year-old house. And we weren't really, it was sort of dumb. We didn't even think of area or neighborhood. We did it on a spur of the moment weekend. And all of a sudden, it opened me. And within a few years, there were other stories that led me to there is a need in this town. And I used to work for Nestle Research. And so I would go buy all the Mattel toys, all the hats and gloves and candy. And I would go to Save a Lot or wherever the stores were that poor people went to in the winter and hand out stuff.
Oh, neat.
And then all of a sudden, my job at Nestle changed, and I didn't want to go to St. Louis. And all of a sudden, an opportunity opened up where Rick Hoffman called me, and he said, I've been at the openings that you've done. I want you to come work for me at Triumph. And I said, oh, Triumph's not even going to open. I said, there's a problem. He said, Triumph's going to open, and we need you. And from there, I have friends. I worked there almost 10 years. And the friends I met there, the people we helped there, through Grace House, and just at the beginning with the involvement with them, changed me. And they are still friends today. When I look at my Facebook page, I laugh because a lot of them are managers today, and
Oh, that's awesome.
nice stories. So Grace House started out of my car and in my garage. We were going to buy a new car, and Daddy said, clear out the garage. You got to get this stuff somewhere. You can't just have a car in here. We don't have the room. So I hunted around for buildings, and they were a little outrageous. And one day I prayed in church on a Sunday morning, and I was up in the front where we stand and sit all the time. And I said, God, just a hole in the wall. So my message to you is don't ask for a hole in the wall. Make it specific.
You got a what?
We got a hole in the wall. Within minutes of the prayer being over, Spanky and Lori Dragoo approached me and told me they had a building above Spanky's down on Illinois. And he said, I said, well, how much do you want for it? He says, nothing. He says, it has nothing. He says, do you want it? And I said, I'll take it.
Now, when you say nothing, did it have heat?
No.
Did it have air?
No.
Okay, did you have electricity?
Yes.
Okay. See, I know I'm kind of at an unfair advantage. I know some of Miss Ruth's story, so I know some questions to ask. But when she means nothing, like it was
cold in the winter.
It was cold, and it was hot and humid in the summer.
But we had a lot of windows, so we always had the crazy part for you ladies that are watching, it had 25 stairs going up. The stair stepper doesn't work. Yeah, I can guarantee it, because we were up and down those stairs, and nothing physically changed on me. But we would hand people, they would tell us what they needed, and we would even pick it and put it out the window in a bucket, because older people couldn't go up the stairs.
Wow.
So then we prayed and prayed, and we moved to a building on Edmond next to the food kitchen. And he kept promising me the 3 buildings together, and that never panned. So I moved from the smaller one to the bigger one. And there again, we didn't have good air conditioning or heat that was working right. But it was a building.
Right.
And we've seen the homeless. We've seen the people that lived on the river.
Right.
And I believe that a lot of people's lives have changed because of what we did. Our motto is we give it free for a smile.
I hope y'all heard that. how you pay Miss Ruth for whatever you need is you just smile at her and she gives it to you.
And we've done that now. In October, it'll be 15 years.
Praise God.
And who'd have thought?
Oh.
I mean, I used to say, well, I'll do this for 4 or 5 years. I leave Triumph. Okay, I should just stop this. No, it kept going. And I think the joy is now watching the children. I have kids that I've seen from 2 years old that have grown and are now adults, and they're giving back. We do a back to school program, which hopefully will be available in July again, July 14, where we give them backpacks, socks, underwear, 2 outfits, and all their school supplies inside the backpack with toothbrush and toothpaste.
Now, you also do shoes.
We do shoes.
Now,
for
tell
them.
us about the shoes, because the shoes come a little
The
different.
shoes are a little different, and as you can remember, we started 7 years ago with the shoes, and you had to get A's and B's to get the shoes. Well, with COVID-19, obviously, there are no A's and B's.
Right.
There's just pass or fail, and in the last few years, a lot of the grading has gone to that.
Mhm.
And the kids that were in the old system have graduated.
Right.
We've bought many a junior high outfit for somebody. One little boy, we bought him a complete outfit and shoes, size 13. He had big
He's
feet.
not a little boy, Ruth.
Oh, Dakota will always be a little boy.
Aw.
And he graduated high school.
Neat.
And his mother had an addiction. They now come to grace. So
Praise God.
God changes lives in
Yes.
different ways. And sometimes we don't get to see it.
Right. But sometimes you do.
Sometimes
And
I
what
do.
a blessing that is.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's my passion. It's my love.
And that's not all you do. So, like, come Mother's Day.
We give Mother's Day bags to
Exactly.
moms, and they have toiletries, candles, makeup, all donated from different areas, or we buy them on sale. I have a phenomenal neighbor, Jeannie, and she is a couponer, which I don't know how she does it, but she will hand me gobs of shampoo and gobs of makeup. And these are things that are new and fun for ladies to have.
And a luxury to have makeup sometimes.
Yes. And what is it? St. Paul Lutheran made bags for us for the last few years.
Nice.
So the kids decorate them all.
Neat.
And then we put them in those bags, and the moms love them.
Good.
And we do a Christmas with Santa, which we
Yes.
love. And we do a big party in the fall. And they get toys then. So and barbecue. Gary Jones and Glenn Merritt barbecue. And this year that is all pending as far as
Right.
what's going on. But
You're still looking forward to it,
We're
but
dreaming
we're just
about it.
not on the calendar yet.
Absolutely.
So don't think it's not going to happen.
I'm praying it happens.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. That's what I want to hear.
And the great part is that what's happening with these children is they're reading more because we have a lot of books. Nikki Jones went on a book fundraiser for us, and she donated hundreds of books that people got into this fundraiser with her, and we've been giving them out. So a lot of kids come back and tell us a little bit about their book. And
Nice.
so it's nice to have them doing something other than just sitting at home bored.
Right.
And reading is good.
Yes.
So God is good. We see a lot of seniors, and they have not been able to all come for different health reasons. But we are open. We opened on the 5th, and it's one family at a time.
Mm-hmm.
We advise them not to bring their children. If their children are on the books, I am fine with them not coming. And everybody has to wear a mask.
Sure.
We've had Barb Foster from Our Lady of Guadalupe, Cindy Merritt, Jan Miller have made masks, so we have little extra masks. And men are more prone to come now for some reason than
Really?
women. Yes. So if they're homeless or out of prison, they need stuff to get
Right.
a job and stuff, so they will come.
Well, I know whenever I see somebody say, well, I have this on Facebook and I don't need it anymore, I'm always quick to say, donate it to Grace House. I know, there for a while, and right now would probably be a really great time because a lot of people have purged.
They've purged.
And can they drop that off on Tuesdays and Saturdays still?
Yes, Tuesday we're there from 7 to 3:30 for drop-off, but we're officially there till 4. And since I'm not working my part-time job anymore, if you need to come after 4, just let me know. And call the phone number, 816-262-9401. And we need plates all the time. We create plate. We take the dinner plate from Dyann and my bowl and Mary's mug, and we put it all together. And Myrna Jones and Kathy Wallace tie netting around them.
They make them really nice, so it's like
they
a
look-
full place setting to hand instead of just throwing a plate at somebody. It's like a gift. It's really neat the time that those ladies take to do that.
And we appreciate it. Janice Albright has been at the store with me working, even through the COVID, behind the scenes getting stuff ready. And we have good volunteers. We have,
But people, do you still need more volunteers?
we can always use volunteers. Like I was talking to you earlier, sometimes when we see a need, we rather write the check like I used to.
Right.
We rather not get too touchy or too involved. Some people don't like to hang up clothes. Some people don't want to go through a bag and sort.
My kids just aren't good at hanging up clothes. You walk in their room and I'm telling the truth, but
No, but it's a fact. But some people don't want to do that.
Right.
Some people don't, well, I don't know if I want to get too close to somebody I don't know.
Right.
So we have different areas that you can do. I have found that when you interact with somebody in need, you are more Christ-like than when you're hiding behind the scenes, and that's me. Janice isn't scared at all, and she doesn't care who you are. She will talk to you. We've had people that maybe are not the cleanest that have come in. We make sure we give them shampoo and body wash and encourage change of clothes
Sure.
and whatever. Because sometimes when they're poor, their water's shut off.
Right.
We don't know what their
Right.
situation
Exactly.
totally is. But I know that God has a reason for Grace House,
Right.
especially in St. Joe. And we see people from Andrew County. We see people from Polo, Rulu out there,
Mhm.
and Kansas, Elwood, Wathena,
Wow.
Troy.
So the tri-state area at least.
Yes.
Wow.
And they are willing to drive from Amazonia to get school stuff for their kids.
Sure.
So it is a big joy. We've seen 1,100 and some kids in almost 3 weeks
Wow.
last year for back to school.
Right.
So we fill those backpacks and they love it.
That's great. And if we do have school this year, I could see that need being greater just because of parents
People
being out
not
work,
working, yes.
and your kids still need school supplies. You know?
And even if they're working at home,
Oh.
they need the paper, they need the notebook, they need the pencils.
Well, and sometimes their hours have been cut in half, even though they're working at home. So, still all this helps. But you don't just do clothes and school supplies and shoes. That's kind of what we've really been talking about. But you also do the housewares.
the housewares.
And what other kind of donations do you need?
We always need coffee pots, toasters, plates, glasses, silverware. You buy decorator pillows for your sofa and they're blue and your husband says they are ugly and you don't know what to do. You already took the tag that you shouldn't have taken off.
You took it off?
So you can't return it.
Right.
So we're more than happy to take it.
Okay.
Because when you're poor and in need, you don't care if it's a blue pillow on a purple sofa.
Right.
It's a pillow.
Exactly. And it
And
makes you feel
linens.
more normal.
Right.
Linens, comforters,
And
bedspreads.
decorator items. Sometimes you buy a vase and a bowl to put stuff in, and all of a sudden it doesn't match your new decor.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful. And plates, because we go through plates like crazy.
Yes.
And bowls for cereal and just all sorts of stuff. We had 2 cribs. We had 4 cribs. We gave 2 away, and then I called Pregnancy Resource, and they had 2 wonderful moms that needed them.
Praise
so
God.
We gave them to Pregnancy.
So you work with other agencies.
Agencies.
Oh, Miss Ruth, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
And I love that because she sent me a note and she says, "Oh my gosh, they were thrilled."
I bet.
And they're new and clean. We pray that our stuff when it comes in is clean
Right.
and in working good condition, barely worn. Shoes must be new or barely new because health department doesn't like it.
Oh, okay.
When they're soiled or
Right.
you ruined them all up and scuffed them, they're not going to want them.
Well, and here's one way I like to look at things. When I'm personally giving things to you, unless my kids are doing their own thing, if I'm supervising, do I want my kid wearing that? And if I don't want my kid leaving the house in that, then I would rather not donate it.
My theory is if you won't wear it, and it was in style 15 years ago,
Yeah.
and the lapels are out here with the shoulder pads, no,
Right.
they don't want to wear it either. Because poor doesn't mean you don't have dignity and you
Right.
still have pride in yourself. And we want to instill that in people.
Right.
And they love it when somebody, we have my, this is going to sound funny, my colonoscopy doctor and his wife, they donate, and she's got a wonderful wardrobe. And she brought it in, and you see these ladies, oh my gosh, this is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And that's special.
It is.
It is.
That's
So,
neat.
That's nice.
Well, I know that you can be found on Facebook
Yes.
at Grace House.
Right.
And so if people want to friend that, they can message you if they have questions. They can find out your hours. And also, if you like her page, you'll find out, like, when COVID kind of blew up there for a minute, she did shut down Grace House, and she posted that. So you can know what
The
the
update,
current
what's
state
happening.
of, yeah. Or, you know, if maybe you're sick that day or something, you know, and won't be available. But,
And we're thinking of expanding the hours, probably another day or make them a little longer now that I'm not working. We've hit a point where I think God is trying to say to me, you're getting old, you don't need to do the other, try depending on me more. So I looked at Danny and he says, I'd love to have you home, but you're not going to be home. You're going to be
exactly. You'll do something else.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to extend some hours at Grace House to make it a little easier for people. But now that your kids are home, if they are teens and stuff, go ahead and bring them in. We have a lot of teen clothing specially. And we need size 5 through 14 always for back to school.
If, like, I have older teens, like,
Right.
I have a 22-year-old and an 18-year-old, and what if I contacted you and said, hey, could we help you wipe down after a family leaves? Would that be a volunteer thing my kids could come in and do?
Sure.
Could it? Okay.
Sure.
So you still need help with cleaning some things and that kind of stuff?
We spray the doors every time somebody goes in and out. They have to sanitize when they come in.
Good.
We've even asked if they want to wear gloves, they're welcome to it. We try to wear gloves and masks. Sometimes the mask is really obnoxious when you're trying to talk and write and
Right.
everything. But like Janice dealing with them at
Yes.
a closer distance, she does wear it. We've moved our tables, so now you are here and the customer's over here.
Okay.
So there's a 6-foot distance. They put their package over there. We take the package and do it here and hand it to them, and they leave.
Okay.
And there's not all that huggy contact we had before.
Right.
Toy box is closed, and only older kids' books are available because we don't want the babies and the little ones drooling. They
Licking and,
yes,
and biting and
having
yeah.
all that fun stuff.
Yeah. All right, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I think our chocolate gravy is done.
Smells delicious.
So I hope so. It is thick. It's almost like a pudding right now. If I can set this here. And oh, look, our cameraman shows up just in the nick of time. So I grew up, I was telling Miss Ruth, I grew up in a Navy family, and so we didn't have a lot of money, and not that biscuits are really expensive or anything, but we always had bread. And if you were like me, like, bread worked for a hot dog bun, it worked for this, it worked for, I mean, bread was everything. So we didn't necessarily have bread for each item. So what we would do is we would take a piece of sandwich bread and butter it, and then we would put the chocolate gravy on top. But in true Southern tradition, you take a biscuit and you put the gravy on top. Now, here's the gravy. Yes, it looks more like pudding, and I guess technically it could be, but it's hot pudding. So that's why we call it chocolate gravy. And
There you go, cameraman.
oh. Is that because you don't want to try it, Miss Ruth?
No, I'm going to
Oh,
try
okay.
it, but I'm going to ask you to do a little less of
Oh.
the chocolate.
Sure,
Since
okay.
Ruth is diabetic. and you
Oh, I
might-
didn't know that.
No, but that's okay, because Ruth eats chocolate anyway.
Okay, how about that? Is that okay?
Probably not enough.
Okay. I just
Is it good?
keep it real.
That's great.
Okay, cameraman says it's good, but I want to show you. So this is what the consistency looks like of
It does
the
look like pudding.
of the gravy, and that's how I put it on. And Like I said, you could smother it in butter first, and then when you put the chocolate gravy on top, it just melts it all in there. But
This is very good.
you like it?
I do like it.
I didn't eat lunch today because I knew we were doing this, and I was so excited.
I haven't had lunch either.
So it gets better. Thank you for joining us on Cooking with Grace. Maybe we'll see you again next week. We really don't know how this is going to pan out, but thank you, and I hope you make this and comment. Let us know if you've made any of our different recipes and what you've thought of them, and if you've tweaked them. I would love to know. If you have any questions for Miss Ruth and don't have Facebook, you can always call the office and leave a message for me at 279-2090. And yeah, I almost forgot
Or
it.
you could call Grace House at 816-262-9401.
There you go.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I am Dyann Duncan, Dyann at graceontheweb.org, and we'll see you next time.